Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lauracrapo. I'm a distance healer and intuitive, and my website details are in the box below. If you hear some fidgeting noises, it's my little chihuahua here chewing on his stick. Okay, so a friend of mine recommended this as a subject for a psychic reading. So, okay. And I don't read the paper. So I'm aware that like something happened. I live in Canada in my own like bubble, so I don't follow the news. But I understand that there was a shooting in the United States, and this guy was responsible, and then he was like acquitted for those deaths, the use of his gun or whatever. So all right. So just one second. Okay. Yeah, so his name's like Kyle Rittenhouse, right? Just want to get the. Anyway, yeah. So okay, I'm just gonna tune in with this energy. See if I. So right off the top, it feels like a heavy flow of information. Like let's say like the court case is already come and gone, but there is a lot of communication that he's involved in. Like a steady stream. And it kind of has the feeling of like planning, and it feels like with some official people type of thing, people who, let's say like a politician type vibe, where they're doing their best to portray a calm exterior or like a beneficial exterior, but okay, but aren't really practicing that. Let's say. I feel like he has like a good feeling, like he's feeling good, and I'm not getting like any feelings of like remorse, or I just feel like he feels like a beaming with feeling like success, let's say. Just people who like have like bad agendas, who are interested in aligning or like having him take part in whether it's like being a spokesperson or like being a visible part of some kind of operation. That comes to mind, that word. I almost feel like he had some kind of like, I know nothing about him, but I'm just telling you what I'm picking up. I feel like he had like some form of training. Having to do with what occurred. I feel like there's people like in power who feel like they can judge or push him around, but I feel like he has a fairly closed view of like his identity, and like it's not easily persuaded, I feel like. He has a very basic view of human interaction that is lacking in like all the different colors of empathy and things like that. Like it's a very black and white view, kind of. And I feel like there's some people who like, I don't know how to say, I don't know if this is like a psychological state where like, or mental illness or something, where if someone criticizes you, it's like a wall that cannot be penetrated. And there were, I feel like, two people that really were very highly critical of him. I feel like one is a female, possibly like a teacher or something like that. And then another one could be like a guy like around his age or something. And he is kind of seeking, was or is like seeking revenge on those affronts that occurred to him. That's his response to the criticism, is to like channel it elsewhere, give it to other people, kind of like giving it to like a, you know, like a protest rather than like doing it in a more public way instead of person to person, because he doesn't have good diplomatic skills. Like he can't have like a conversation that yields results. Sorry for all the noises in my dog. Okay. So focus. I feel like I read briefly that from my friend's text that like Trump met with him recently. So I'm feeling that energy, but I feel like Trump is just trying to see like, how can I use you or not, or like how can I spin this for my own benefit by using this like sort of battery power of like, kind of like there's no such thing as bad news in the, you know, not bad news, but like there's no such thing as bad press, right, for him, for Trump. So I mean, it's kind of like Trump grabbing a selfie with a celebrity on the red carpet. I don't know. It's just like he just wants to be in the news at all costs, Trump. So he's just like a desperate hanger on of exposure. He's Trump has a pathological need for exposure that causes him to do things that people don't consider human, right? This is for entertainment purposes only. This is just what I'm picking up, and I know this is like a controversial subject, but I'm just telling you what I pick up, and that's what this video is. Okay, so back to the Rittenhouse guy. I'm just trying to see, like, I'm scanning for like any positivity, you know, chance for healing, anything in this picture. What I pick up more is just like a straight line of behavior that like feels like this, of like just a continuation of same, not healing, but like better, more well-known, let's say, at each step, at each stage of activity or whatever. I feel like lawyers and psychologists kind of just are not able to like get through to him, and like his mindset is fairly closed, like I said. And okay, let me just, sorry, my dog is like being affectionate. Okay, shh, calm down. You want to say hi? Hi. Okay. I'm just trying to think of like, is there anything that's helpful for the audience to know or think about regarding this subject? I feel like there needs to be a way that isn't like just like calling the police or like calling the FBI or whatever. There has to be kind of like a medium level way of communicating like something's not quite right with this person, or I saw this, or he said that. I know it's not technically like a crime, but it could be, or it could develop into that. Like there needs to be in society, like how in the back in the day, like when I was a kid, there were cops that like walked the beat, right? And they were kind of like I think they train cops now to be reactive and escalating and like highly defensive of themselves to the point where they end up causing harm to others too soon or at all. And when I was younger, cops would just like be in the neighborhood, like a fixture in the neighborhood, like, and friends with people, and like someone you could just sort of chit chat and they could kind of like just hear like what's going on, or they got married or they got divorced, or it's just stuff, right? And right now there's like they've somehow restructured the police system to be different than that, and seemingly less compassionate. And the times that I've been like pulled over in like car stuff, they just seem like, I mean, maybe it's because I'm older and they're like half my age, and they're just, I don't know, but it just sort of seems like just, okay, this is just like in general, their level of intellect seems like not that refined. From my personal experience, like there's a rare case where someone like seems to have an actively working heart and stuff like that, but like they seem to have like a pretty cut and dry way of like interacting with people that doesn't have a lot of variation. And I think that like in any kind of human exchange, there's a lot of room for variation, and like seeing the other person's point of view, or like tuning into where they're coming from and stuff like that, instead of just being like, no, you must adhere to this like black and white thing. And like not everybody knows like the ins and outs of the legal system, or like what it means to get stopped in traffic, or like what are my rights, or like this. It's pretty complicated stuff, so like it's pretty easy to like F it up, if you're not really in the know about like what does it even mean to be pulled over in a car for a nonviolent thing, like what is that? So anyway, okay, I'm just trying to find my way back to like why I brought that up. Yeah, there's just like a super disconnect. Like he just seems like strangely tunnel vision in his view of the world. Is that, oh yeah, that's what I was getting back to. Is that like a psychological illness? Like I know like in my encounters with some like narcissists, or like kind of people with psychopathic tendencies, they just like go after what they want, and they literally have no access to the empathy element that could be there for whatever reason. like nature nurture, I'm not sure, but or so there's something like that going on here where there's just like a total inability to even go there with the concept of empathy or like seeing more than just like a black and white view of things. Okay. So I'm not gonna say like black and white, but like super tunnel vision. Like there's not like, maybe he's fairly isolated too, so he doesn't have a lot of feedback from people. And just like this very driven, like laser-like desire, focus of commitment to something. This something that he's committed to is not aligned with like the rest of humanity, let's say. Like a disruptor is a pretty kind of niche behavior. Okay. I think even if he were in prison, he would still have that feeling of like happy with himself or like some kind of glory aspect that he seems to have, like independent of other people's input. He has a very high esteem of himself and what he does. And I think because he's shown like extreme antisocial behavior and poor judgment and like violence, like it, even if he's not in prison, like people should really watch him and know that that's the court case was not like a quick fix to like stopping this type of behavior. It's just like, I mean, the legal system is really complex and it's a language of its own, and like it's a weird kind of theater. And I mean, when I went through divorce court, it was pretty surprising to be thrown into something like a system like that where it's not obvious. Like it doesn't make sense. Like someone will ask you a question from over here, and then you're supposed to not answer them. You're supposed to turn your head, ignore the person that asked the question, look at somebody completely different, and give your answer like to the judge. So it's like it takes some getting used to. Just and I think it's really easy for people who are in fact guilty of doing a certain act to get off on some like technical thing, whether it's like the wording of something or a screw up on somebody's behalf in terms of like collecting evidence or whatever. So it doesn't mean that like it didn't happen. It wasn't a crime in terms of like how humanity sees things. So his freedom, quote unquote, needs to be like watched just as closely as someone who were doing time. And I guess that's like fairly easy to do if the government wanted to, because there's so much surveillance these days anyway. Okay, I'm gonna try to like wrap up this video and see what else I pick up. It's a little bit distracting because my dog is like licking my hand while I'm trying to like focus. Okay, calm down. I feel like different people who might want to like use him as a pawn in one way or another are gonna have discussions with him to some extent, but then just decide like he's not reliable. Because he can't come to an agreement with anyone. He'll just like, he'll say yeah and then do what he wants to do because he has this very high opinion of himself and his ideas and his sort of mission in life. Or just not really he doesn't really have a mission so much as extremely high opinion of himself that causes him to follow through on whatever he wants to do, kind of thing. I mean, there's lots of people in the world who do good and who do bad, and they're just like, in the world doing their thing. And to a certain degree, like, because he was acquitted, like, he will also be one of those people just living their life, doing their thing. And he may have some more exposure than people feel comfortable with. But, like, it's kind of like with, let's say you're like J-Lo or someone, and you're dating someone or married to someone, like, the press kind of helps you out by saying, like, he had dinner with so-and-so. It's like, oh, thanks. Like, I wouldn't have known that so soon, and I appreciate the honesty and whatever. So, in a way, if someone is high profile for whatever reason, whether they're like whether they have like a interview show or just, like any type of media involvement, or like they decide to become a spokesperson for this or that or whatever, like the more that they're being surveilled, let's say, the safer society is. So it's better than someone just deciding to like go to a off-grid cabin, you know what I mean? So if you can, as irritating as it is to have someone who's actually guilty being free, if they're making their movements public and people are like documenting their movements, or it's less likely something bad might happen. It's one way to look at it. In terms of like if he had some sort of minor celebrity-ish thing in terms of being an interview guest, or I don't know what, like I feel kind of like physically ill when there's this like, I feel like in terms of a personal relationship he might have, or like coming up, or just gonna look at why that is. This, I don't know if he's straight or whatever, but I'm just sort of picturing like a type of feminine energy that is like very pushy, and like their energy is like off the charts, like toxic, and it's like they want this sort of negative, they sort of get off on this negative exposure manipulation type of thing. Yeah, so like it's almost like he could attract someone that's even worse than him, if I can say that, with like similar negative behaviors or worse behaviors, let's say. And I guess like some element of like wanting attention or loneliness or wanting a partner like will be a motivation for him to like get with this person. And I just think like no amount of like, let's say someone made him go see a psychologist as part of the result of the case, or I don't know what, that will go nowhere. Like, sure, he might show up for the appointments, but the process of healing is not, I don't feel it's possible. I don't know if he takes some kind of like drug or something, like whether it's focus or like something like that. Like, I feel like it's like, you know, that song, like One Toke Over the Line. It's kind of like, I feel like that, like he's just gone one toke over the line. Like it made him just kind of not be able to return to like what normal, whatever normal is. I guess normal would be someone who doesn't do harm, if in this case. Okay. I feel like he really wants to achieve some sort of celebrity status, and will agree to meeting people who like he feels that are giving him that, because he has this like very glowing view of himself, as I mentioned before. And I guess that, what is it? What's that called? The type of narcissism that like performers have and stuff. I can't think of it. I know there's like covert and overt narcissism, and there's for some reason I can't think of the word, but I'm sure you can. And you know, narcissism is born from, you know, I'm not an expert on it, but like, you know, from not getting enough attention or whatever, or just not like not wiring that relationship model properly in the brain, and it just kind of can't be. Like I've had a couple of clients who are narcissists, and it's like when I do work on them, it's like I can remove all the thorns, but it doesn't like change the person in essence. And so they'll feel better, but they'll do their same behaviors until they sort of have to really confront that from all the like disillusion of their relationships, and like, you know, have to face the music, as it were. Yeah, so it's like I don't see psychological intervention for him doing anything whatsoever. I don't know, and I feel like there's this like maybe he'll get into more like athleticism, like yeah, it's just kind of like you know, there's no like arc of like progress and stuff. It's just kind of like just that kind of feeling of geez, you know, and I do feel like at some point in his life, like early 40s or something like that, or like late 30s, early 40s, I just feel things being cut short for him. That's just like what I'm reading right now. Of course, people have free will, and things can change, but I'm just reading the current energies on him. So I just feel like some other person who, at the time of their meeting, who has like a greater urge for destructive behavior will do that. Maybe like a time of weakness on his part. Well, I think like if we look at the big picture, the political situation in the United States, like, I think needs more empathy and like less of a polarity type of thing, and like less of an opportunist. Like it's gone from someone in the village like deciding to take on the burdens of like keeping things together, to this kind of like weird puppet show of this very like adolescent type of argument style. I think it's really like the opposite of diplomacy. So that model is not sustainable with what they have right now. I mean, I think they can try to force it to last another 4 to 5 years. I guess when was the election? It's so confusing with COVID. It was such a blur. But was it last year that they had the election? I think so. Yeah. So let's say like by the end of Biden's term, or like if the VP takes over or whatever, by the end of this term, maybe like around that time or like shortly after, people will just be like, no, like this kind of clownish he said, she said type of politics doesn't work for us anymore. Like there's too much active, like good dialogue happening over the internet and stuff like that that kind of like makes this type of model like beyond irrelevant. It's like having two Karens like running the country or whatever. Like it just doesn't. It's like at some point it's a joke, like the way that anyway. So I kind of feel like part of what causes these situations where people don't have like a very complex, like good way of like discussing like difficult topics and stuff like that, people feel like validated to just take like a very clear path that they might not even realize it's like illogical in the moment, because they feel vindicated by it, by like what's been in the press, or like what they feel is like the clear message from that party or whatever. So in their mind, they're like, well, we're allowed to have guns and we're allowed to demonstrate and we're allowed to, so they feel like they ticked all the good boxes and they're heroic. But actually, like, the point of being a human being is to like, develop all parts of yourselves, including your heart. That's a big part of your body, and like your, anyway, we're not going to really see any big changes in terms of this like very polarity thinking until like 4 years from now, when there will be like a huge shift where that just model just doesn't exist anymore, and that would be nice to have people be more thoughtful. Okay. Yeah, and I feel like there needs to be some kind of like review of the judicial system. There needs to be like a little team put together by like whatever, I don't know who would do this, like people who are very knowledgeable about law and law reform, whether it's with like one of the 3-letter agencies or the government or whatever, to just go like, okay, these are the obvious cases where injustice ruled the day, and how can that not happen again? You know, obviously, like, the system isn't perfect. So it needs to be fixed. Can't just have these like, obvious crimes go like, go free and stuff like that. It's like I don't speak English, but anyway, you understand what I'm trying to say. So there really needs to be this committee looking into that stuff and just being like, enough with these situations where, and why, and like, how did it happen, and is there a pattern, and can we change the pattern, kind of thing. Yeah, and I really think like people need to, when they watch the media, especially like media like that tries to get people up in arms, like literally, just don't get caught up with the emotional aspect of it. Really listen to what they're saying. Like, just really deconstruct it. Like, it's like if you had to build your own TV set, hire anchors, dress them, tell them what mood to say it in, give them, like, write the lines and everything. Like, news is fabricated, like, especially like broadcast news. So really look at like all the details of the choices they made, like every possible detail, and just go like, why, and how is this serving humanity? Like, how is this helping me really? How is this helping us heal and like get past the situation? Is it just making it worse? Is it dumbing down the subject? Did they forget to ask certain opinions of people that matter in this case? Like, don't get fired up about it. Just analyze it like down to like the millimeter, and like, so that with your like trained observant mind, like, you're no longer going to get angry, but you're going to start to see solutions or become creative about like how you can contribute. So they're not wasting time just being reactive. I saw this really good video of like famous quotes from Marcus Aurelius today, and I was like, wow, he really knew what he was talking about. And that a lot of it was about like diplomacy and things like that. So maybe later I can find the link to that and put it in the box. But you can also Google famous quotes by Marcus Aurelius and beat me to that. Yeah, so I just think like the way to get around this type of injustice is to remove the emotional element from the reactive element of all this type of fabricated news. I'm not going to say it's fake news, because like news is news, whatever. But like, definitely TV show stuff or what, it's like, it's created, it's fabricated, it's made piece by piece. There's a decision for like down to the socks that you're wearing. Like, it's, what color are the buttons on the, screen behind you, or like all that stuff is like thought about and created to create a certain vibe. And it's like, whoa. It's like when I had this like 5-hour stopover in Dubai, and I like had like a by the hour hotel room in the airport just to have a nap. And the news was like so much more relaxing there, like, because they had it like these guys just sitting in an oasis, like a fake kind of oasis, like there's like a blanket and some pillows, and they're just like kind of chilling and talking about like what's going on. I think like if we had news broadcasts like that in North America, people would chill out. Yeah, so like this, and then that goes into like identity issues, like, oh my god, my dog is, I guess, calling an end to the video. But hey, Dr. Disco, come here. And but like don't let these news sources and these situations dictate like what it means to be like American, let's say. You know, like don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's like, I feel like it's really important to see the best in yourself. You know, appreciate the day as a blessing, and like kind of like start your day on that trajectory instead of like digging through the nonsense of like, you know, why did this news show get me fired up, or like stuff like that. Like your time is like precious, and so spend it wisely. Yeah, and I think like the more that people do that, the less we'll be just following this paved road of like this polarity thinking that's been set, and there'll start to be more discussion, more offshoots to that like start prospering, and like so that this old model of polarity thinking will kind of become irrelevant in like 4 years. Anyway, sorry, I've like really taking my time doing this video, but I didn't want to just say like something really basic. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you guys have a suggestion about either a celebrity reading or someone in the news that you'd be interested to hear about, I'm interested in your suggestions. So have a good day, and thanks for joining me.